And it's really hard even to know where to begin with this year's champion hurdle, because the usual places you look in terms of the graduation races, the graded races, nothing and anything has really put up what you'd call a champion winning performance, even in the absence of Faheen and Annie Power. So please, I suppose, how do we attack the champion hurdle?
Well, you look at the horses that are at the head of the market and try and find flaws in them, I suppose. So you start with, you've got Bouvardere and Yanworth at the head of the market at the moment, and you look at Yanworth in his races this season, and I don't think he's been at all convincing for me in terms of a champion hurdle profile. He had a race at Kempton that was set up for him by the way in which his owner's other runner was ridden to try and act as a spoiler really against the new one, My Tent or Yours, and he was still pretty unconvincing at the end, I thought, Yanworth, so I'm quite keen to take him on. And
just bringing Billy in, because I thought the problem with Irish horse is Petit Mouchoir, and on paper this looks pretty good. One graded race on his last two starts, he's really uncomplicated. The question is, with what's left of the Irish form, how strong is it? And what's his prospects of doing at Cheltenham what he's been doing at Leopardstown from the front?
Slim, in my opinion. If you look at Petit Mouchoir, as Jamie said, he's won 2 Grade 1s in his last 2 starts, but really and truly, certainly on Timeform ratings, he hasn't improved on what he was doing as a novice last year. Bouvardere beat him fair and square at entry last year. Okay, he might have improved a little bit in the meantime, but has he improved as much as Bouvardere? I don't think so. I don't think either of those races at Leopardstown were particularly strong. He beat an off-form Nicholas Canyon, who personally I think is better going the other way around anyway. And he beat Footpad and was all out to beat Footpad in the Irish Champion Hurdle, and to me Footpad isn't related to a Champion Hurdle horse. So if there is to be an Irish winner of this race, in my opinion it won't be Petit Mouchoir.
So David's a bit lukewarm, to say the least, or say the most, on Yanworth. And we talk about Bouvardere, obviously 2 horses in the same ownership there. What's Bouvardere done to justify his position in the market?
I think it's the way he goes about it. It's quite easy to be lulled in, isn't it, by a horse that travels as strongly as he does. I was really keen in for the Arcelor JLT. I thought he'd taken really well to fences, beat Cloudy Dream at Haydock. It was impressive. Jumped dead quick again at Warwick. Whatever the cause and whatever the reason, Henderson decided they were going to try and turn him back into champion hurdle, and it is a weak race. I think it's a horrible race. As Clay said, you've got horses like Yanworth and Bouvardere who aren't really solid. He had to really get stuck into Yanworth on the running last time at Wincanton to make sure. That was only Chittabello. He's a quick horse. Maybe he's more of a Wincanton horse than Yanworth, but he's not a champion hurdle horse. I don't want to rain on Martin's parade here, because I know he's got a bit of a view in this as well, but I'm sort of going to echo what he may well say. And I may be going mad here, but My Tent or Yours at 33s, he's just too big. He's gonna cut up to be a smallish field probably. He was second in a stronger New Year race last year, and he'd been off the track for 2 years now. Maybe that bottomed him because he hasn't run the same race since. But recent starts, you've had terrible ground, small field at Haydock. Yes, bad ground, small field Haydock, didn't suit him at all. Clear's mentioned the race where he was basically used to ruin the new one's chance and set it up for Yanworth. And I just think he's a lot better than the bare form of his runs this year suggests. And as long as it's not bad ground again at Cheltenham, which is highly likely to be because it never is, then he'll have his conditions again. And at 33s, you're playing for a place because he wouldn't have Battle Archibald, would he? But first 3, nearly 10 to 1. I think that's some value.
It's nearly verbatim now. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm very much in that camp as well. To be fair, I think it's it is a weak champion hurdle, isn't it? We know that it's not going to take as much winning as it ought to do without Annie Power, without Faheen and others besides. So I think My Tent or Yours is a player, certainly each way. And you put it nicely to me, to be fair, when we first started talking about this, Dan. You said that he probably won't go past Archibald, and that's about right with my 10 or yours. He probably will loom up 2 out and not go past and maybe finish second, but at the price, if you're backing him each way, it's still well worthwhile taking the pop at him. I think at that sort of, you can make a pretty coherent argument that champion hurdle second last year to Annie Power is the best bit of 2 mile form of the last 12 months because there isn't much else to go on. And he is a big price, isn't he? I think, for what it's worth, of the market principles, Bouvardere is the best of them. He's the most progressive, he's the youngest, and I think that in last year's Supreme, it's a red hot bit of form. Obviously, he bumped into an outstanding winner in Altior, who would probably be 2 to 7 to win the champion hurdle, just the same as he is the Arkle, to be fair. And he probably would have finished upsides Min as well with a slightly more positive ride. He was still running on at the finish from further back than the other 2 that beat him on the day. So Bouvardere probably worthy favourite. I think he'll probably go off favourite, to be honest. It probably says something in itself that JP McManus's team thought it well worth switching him to the champion when they already had Yanworth, who at the time was market leader for it. So they clearly don't see him as bomb-proof. And Bouvardere probably, as I say, he'll probably go off favourite, but my 10 or yours each way would be the best.
I wanted to mention Brain Power, who I was really impressed with both at Sandown and at Ascot, what you could see at Ascot in the fog. The way that he won that race, I think it's a really strong piece of handicap form, and I don't think he needs to improve much against generally some substandard and vulnerable champion hurdle horses. And I think that the type of race that it ought to be, provided it's decent ground, should be absolutely ideal for him. I think he's a quick 2 miler, and that quite often is what you need in the champion hurdle.
It's just really interesting that Brain Power's been up in I keep on calling him Brian Power. Brian Power, that's a fun one. He's been sort of set this objective for some time, and the rumours are that he is Altior's work companion at home, and he's the one who's chosen to do the work with Altior, which in itself says something. There is a potential sort of left field entrant as yet in the champion hurdle. One is Moonracer, who could well turn up, but I think we all agree that his form, although it might be enough to win a Supreme, even in a substandard champion, is not going to get him in the first 3, unlikely to anyway, up against the horses he is. But we've got Limini, Billy, who festival winner last year, beat Apple's Jade on a reappearance, seemed to take Willie Mullins and Ruby Walsh a bit by surprise when she beat Apple's Jade there. And just, is she a true champion hurdle contender this year?
I think she has to be, yeah. If you look at her form from last year, okay, the Mayor's Novice probably wasn't a particularly strong race, but she won it very well. She ran, I thought, really well at Aintree. She wasn't beaten all that far by Bouvardere, having pulled really, really hard. She gave herself no chance, and to finish as close as she did, I think that was a good run. And you can just put a line through her Punchestown run because Ruby kept her too far out of her ground. He was trying to settle her, and it just kind of backfired a small bit. So she had a bit to prove at the start of the season, but she was very impressive at Punchestown. Okay, it was a small field, but she still beat Apple's Jade. She brushed her aside. It was 2.5 miles. But what I really liked about her, first of all, she settled really well, and secondly, her jumping was electric. She was really quick over her flights, really low, just exactly what you'd want to see in a champion hurdle horse. I think in an open year, she's getting the allowances. You certainly have to make a case for her. And Richie, okay, the man has a lot of cash, but he doesn't throw it around too easily. So the fact that he's going to supplement this mare, I think, is a bit of a tip in itself, and I'd give her a big chance. The other Irish horse that's going to be supplemented will probably be Gordon Elliott's Tombstone. Again, good novice hurdler last year. I think this is a bit of this is kind of plan B with Tombstone. I think the Arkle was what they were aiming for, and he just met with a setback, and they're going to give him a run in this. Personally, if he was mine, I'd like to run him in the county hurdle because I think that sort of environment would suit him better. But if, we're all saying it's a very open champion hurdle, one horse we haven't mentioned at all so far that I think is definitely running is Wicklow Brave. He hasn't run over hurdles for nearly 2 years. He did win the county hurdle, but he's improved so much on the flat in the meantime. He won the Irish Ledger last year. He's 33 to 1 at the moment, which is a massive price about a Group 1 winner on the flat. If he runs, I think each way you could do an awful lot worse than him.